Commander Ellis Chen's coffee mug hit the deck with a clang that echoed through Europa Station's cramped maintenance corridor. The dark liquid pooled around his boots, but he didn't notice. All his attention was fixed on the diagnostic panel blinking red beside Airlock 7. "That's impossible," he muttered, tapping the screen with a trembling finger. The readout didn't change. Atmospheric pressure, normal. Oxygen level, 21%. Temperature, 22 degrees Celsius. On the other side of a sealed airlock that opened directly into the vacuum of space above Europa's ice-covered ocean. Ellis yanked his comm unit from his belt. "Control, this is Commander Chen. We have an anomaly at Airlock 7. Sensors indicate Earth-normal conditions beyond the outer door." A burst of static preceded the response. "Repeat that, Commander. Sounds like you said normal conditions outside Airlock 7. That's 400 million kilometers from Earth, in case you forgot." "I know where we are, Lopez," Ellis snapped. "Run a diagnostic on these sensors immediately." "Already did. Twice. They're functioning perfectly." Ellis ran a hand through his close-cropped hair. After 3 years overseeing Europa Station, humanity's most ambitious deep space research facility, he thought he'd seen every possible system malfunction. This was something new. "Quarantine the entire section. I'm calling Ren." Security Chief Dani Ren arrived 15 minutes later, suited up in the station's only combat-ready EVA gear. The glossy black exosuit made her already imposing frame look positively monstrous in the narrow corridor. "You know that's completely unnecessary," Ellis said, gesturing at her pulse rifle. "You know station protocol requires armed response for all unexplained anomalies," she countered, her voice slightly metallic through the helmet speaker. "Especially ones that violate the laws of physics." Ellis rolled his eyes. "It's obviously a sensor malfunction." "Then why did you call me instead of maintenance?" Ren challenged. He hesitated. "Because I'm not entirely sure it is a malfunction." Ren tilted her helmet, the equivalent of raising an eyebrow inside the sealed unit. "Explain." Ellis pointed to the airlock door. 3 separate diagnostic systems confirm atmospheric readings on the other side. "And there's something else." He hesitated. "I've been hearing sounds." "What kind of sounds?" "Like voices. Conversations. Just at the edge of hearing. And sometimes, when I put my hand on the door." He demonstrated, pressing his palm against the cool metal. "I swear I can feel vibrations. Like footsteps." Ren's posture stiffened visibly even through the bulky suit. "Why wasn't this reported immediately?" "Because it sounds crazy. We're on Jupiter's moon, Ren. There's nothing out there but ice, ocean, and vacuum. Which is precisely why this should have been reported the instant you noticed anything unusual," she said, her voice hardening. "You know what happened at Titan Station?" Ellis flinched. Everyone knew about Titan Station. The official report cited catastrophic hull failure, but the rumors among station crews told of something else entirely. Something that had come through an airlock where nothing should have been. "This is different," he insisted. "We don't know that." Ren moved him aside and accessed the security panel. "I'm initiating emergency protocols. Station AI will seal off this entire deck. If something hostile is out there." "Wait." Ellis grabbed her armored wrist. "Let me look first. Just a quick peek through the viewport. If there's nothing there, we can avoid a full station shutdown." Ren stared at him through her darkened visor. "Your career is on the line regardless, Commander. Failure to report an anomaly is serious enough." Ellis swallowed hard. She was right, but there was more at stake than his career. Europa Station was his life's work. The research they were conducting on potential extraterrestrial microorganisms could revolutionize human understanding of life itself. A false alarm that triggered emergency protocols would set them back months. And if the board decided he couldn't be trusted? Just one look, he pleaded. If there's anything even slightly concerning, we'll lock it down immediately. After a long pause, Ren nodded once. One look. Stand behind me. They approached the airlock together. Ellis reached for the small shutter covering the reinforced viewport. On 3, he said. 1, 2. His hand froze on the count. Do you hear that? From beyond the airlock came the unmistakable sound of children laughing. Ren immediately raised her weapon. Open it. Now. Ellis slid the viewport cover aside and pressed his face to the transparent aluminum. What he saw made his knees buckle. Ellis? What is it? Ren demanded, unable to see through the small opening from inside her helmet. He couldn't speak. Couldn't form words to describe the impossibility beyond the glass. Step aside, Ren ordered, shoving him roughly away. She peered through the viewport, then jerked back as if burned. That's my home, she whispered. My apartment on Luna Colony. How is that? I need to open it, Ellis said suddenly, moving toward the control panel. Ren grabbed him. Absolutely not. Whatever this is, it's clearly some kind of trick. Possibly a hallucination induced by an unknown agent. But Ellis barely heard her. The vision through the viewport had shifted for him too. No longer showing whatever Ren had seen, but revealing something even more impossible, his daughter May, smiling and waving at him from the porch of their old house on Earth. The house they'd lived in before the accident. Before he buried himself in his work and accepted the Europa assignment. It's not real, Ren insisted, her voice wavering slightly. Ellis, listen to me. This is exactly what happened at Titan. They reported seeing loved ones, places they missed. Then they opened the airlock and... He broke free from her grasp and lunged for the control panel. His security clearance overrode her attempt to block the command. Ellis, no. The warning came too late. The inner door was already cycling open with a pneumatic hiss. Ren raised her weapon, preparing for explosive decompression or something worse. The door slid open completely. And beyond it wasn't the cold void of space above Europa. It wasn't the vacuum that should have killed them instantly. It was a sunlit garden Ellis recognized from his childhood home in California. And standing in it, impossibly real and alive, was his daughter. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Ellis stared into the garden, transfixed by the impossible sight of his daughter, while Ren kept her weapon trained on the doorway, finger hovering over the trigger. Daddy! May called out, her voice exactly as he remembered it. You've been gone so long. Come home. It's not real, Ren hissed through her helmet speaker. Whatever you're seeing, it's not real. But it looked real. It sounded real. Even the scent of jasmine from his ex-wife's garden drifted through the airlock door, carrying with it memories so vivid they made his chest ache. What do you see? Ellis asked, not taking his eyes off May. Ren's breathing was audible through her suit. My apartment. My cats. My partner cooking dinner. It's... She swallowed hard. It's the day before I left for this assignment. Ellis nodded slowly. It's showing us home. It's showing us what we want to see, Ren corrected. This is textbook psychological manipulation. By what? Who? Ellis gestured toward the garden. There's no evidence of hostile intent here. Yet. Ren shifted her stance. Titan Station reported similar manifestations before all contact was lost. Ellis finally tore his gaze away from May to look at Ren. But what if this is something completely different? What if this is first contact? Even through her darkened visor, he could sense her incredulity. With something that reads our minds and creates perfect illusions. That's supposed to be reassuring. Ellis turned back to the garden. May was still there, now sitting on a swing, kicking her legs back and forth. Everything was exactly as he remembered from the last summer before the accident that had taken May and driven him into the solitary life of deep space assignments. "I need to understand what this is," he said quietly. "Ellis, don't." But he was already moving, stepping cautiously through the airlock threshold. The rational part of his brain screamed warnings about explosive decompression, radiation, and a dozen other ways to die in space, but his body passed through unharmed. His boots touched grass. Real grass that bent beneath his weight. The warmth of sunlight caressed his face, and a gentle breeze ruffled his hair. Physically, it was perfect, indistinguishable from reality. "Daddy!" May jumped from the swing and ran toward him. "Commander Chen, return to the station immediately," Ren ordered, her voice suddenly distant and tinny in his earpiece. "That's a direct order." Ellis hesitated, watching May approach. The logical part of his mind knew this couldn't be his daughter. May had died 6 years ago in the autonomous vehicle collision that had destroyed his marriage and career on Earth. Whatever this was, hallucination, alien technology, or some kind of space-time anomaly, it wasn't really her. But it looked like her. Down to the tiny scar on her elbow from falling off her bike. "I've missed you so much," Ellis whispered as May reached him, her small arms wrapping around his waist. The hug felt real. Warm. Solid. Something was wrong with the sky. Ellis looked up, expecting to see the blue California sky of his memories. Instead, it rippled like the surface of water, occasional fractures revealing a darkness beyond that was neither space nor sky. "May," he said gently, kneeling to her level. "What is this place? How are you here?" She smiled, revealing the gap where she'd lost a tooth the week before the accident. "It's the interface, silly. You finally found it." "The interface? Where realities meet. We've been waiting for someone to open the door." A chill ran down Ellis's spine despite the warm sunlight. "We? Who's we, sweetheart?" May's expression changed subtly, becoming slightly more adult, more measured. "Those who exist in the spaces between your understanding of reality." Ellis took an involuntary step back. The garden around them flickered momentarily, revealing glimpses of other environments, a neon-lit cityscape, a forest of impossible crystalline trees, an ocean of what looked like liquid light. "You're not really May, are you?" he asked, his voice breaking. Not May smiled sadly. "I am what you needed to see to be brave enough to step through. Just as your colleague sees what she needs to remain cautious." Ellis looked back toward the airlock. From this side, he could see both into the station corridor, where Ren stood with her weapon still raised, and what she was seeing through the door, her apartment, her life before Europa. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Connection." Not May's voice had changed, becoming a complex harmony of tones. "Your species has reached a crucial juncture in its development. You've begun to explore the depths of space, but haven't yet realized what space truly is." "And what is it?" "A membrane between realities." Not May gestured, and the garden dissolved completely, replaced by a vast panoramic view that made Ellis's mind struggle to comprehend what he was seeing. Countless translucent layers, like sheets of glass extending infinitely in all directions, each containing what appeared to be entire universes in miniature. "Every decision, every possibility, creates another layer," Not May explained. "Most species never notice the boundaries between these layers. But occasionally, in places where reality is stretched thin. Like at the edge of our solar system," Ellis suggested, his scientific mind racing to make sense of what he was seeing. "Precisely. The membrane weakens. Doors become possible." Not May, or whatever was using her image, looked at him with eyes that now swirled with galaxies. "Your Titan station found one such door. They were not ready." A cold dread settled in Ellis's stomach. What happened to them? They feared what they didn't understand. Fear led to violence. Violence led to containment measures. They were killed. Relocated. The entity corrected. Transferred to a reality compatible with their level of understanding. Ellis frowned. That sounds like a euphemism for something horrible. For the first time, the entity wearing May's form looked uncomfortable. From your perspective, perhaps. We do not perceive existence as you do. A burst of static in Ellis's earpiece was followed by Ren's voice. Ellis, the station's systems are going haywire. Every sensor is registering impossible readings. Whatever's happening is spreading beyond Airlock 7. The entity nodded. The interface, once opened, begins to expand. Your artificial environments are particularly susceptible. You're saying the entire station is going to be swallowed by, whatever this is? Ellis demanded, panic rising. Not swallowed. Transformed. Your reality will merge with others, creating something new. There are 300 people on this station. And they will all experience their own versions of the interface, just as you and your security chief have. Ellis thought quickly. What if we close the airlock? Seal the breach? The entity tilted its head, a disturbingly childlike gesture from a being that was clearly anything but. The door can be closed, yes. But there is a cost. What cost? Someone must remain on this side. A conscious observer to collapse the quantum state. Ellis felt a cold certainty settle over him. And if no one stays? Then the interface continues to expand. Your station becomes a permanent nexus between realities. For some of your people, this would be a paradise of infinite possibilities. For others. The entity left the sentence unfinished. A nightmare, Ellis completed. Ren's voice came through again, more urgent. Ellis, we've got structural integrity warnings throughout the station. Whatever you're doing in there, stop it now. Ellis looked back at the airlock. From his current position, he could see multiple versions of reality layered over each other like double-exposed photographs, Ren in the corridor, her apartment, dozens of other environments flickering in and out of existence. If I stay, he said slowly, everyone else goes back to normal. Back to their reality. The entity nodded May's head. The interface requires balance. A conscious observer from your side, freely choosing to remain. And what happens to me? You become part of the interface. Your consciousness expands beyond your current limitations. The entity smiled with May's face. You would never be alone again. The emotional manipulation was obvious, but effective. After years of isolation, throwing himself into work to escape his grief, the promise of never being alone held a powerful appeal. But there were 300 people on Europa Station. Researchers, engineers, support staff, all depending on him. If I agree to stay, you have to promise me something, Ellis said firmly. We do not typically negotiate, but we are curious about your request. Let me say goodbye to Ren. Let me explain what's happening so she can prepare the station. And promise me that you'll never attempt to open another interface to human settlements without consent. The entity considered for a moment, then nodded. These terms are acceptable. You may speak with your colleague. Ellis turned and walked back toward the airlock, where Ren was still aiming her weapon at something only she could see. Ren, he called. It's me. I need you to focus on my voice. Her helmet turned toward him, though he couldn't tell if she actually saw him. Chen. Where are you? I see my apartment, but the sensors say you're right in front of me. I am. Listen carefully. He explained what he'd learned, watching comprehension dawn in her body language even through the bulky suit. That's insane, she said when he finished. You can't trust this, whatever it is. I don't, Ellis admitted. Not entirely. But I've seen enough to know that if we don't close this door, the entire station is at risk. So close it. Come back through. Ellis shook his head. Someone has to stay to seal it properly. That's the deal. No. Absolutely not. Ren's voice was firm. We'll find another way. There isn't time. Ellis glanced back at the entity, who was watching with May's patient expression. The interface is already spreading. You've seen the system warnings. Then I'll stay, Ren volunteered immediately. I'm security. This is literally my job. Ellis smiled sadly. Thanks, but no. I'm the one who opened the door. Besides. He looked around at the fractured realities swirling around them. I've been looking for a way to escape my memories for years. Maybe this is it. Before she could argue further, Ellis reached out and pressed the airlock control panel visible in his version of reality. The door began to close. Ellis, don't do this. Ren shouted, finally lowering her weapon and reaching toward him. Tell them I found something wonderful, Ellis said as the gap narrowed. Tell them I finally went home. The airlock sealed with a hiss, cutting off Ren's protests. On her side, sensors would show a return to normal vacuum conditions beyond the outer door. Crisis averted. Station saved. On Ellis's side, the entity wearing May's form approached and took his hand. You have questions, it said, no longer bothering with the childlike demeanor. About 1 million, Ellis admitted. Starting with, was any of this real, or just in my mind? The entity smiled. What's the difference? And as Europa Station receded into just one of countless visible realities around him, Ellis Chen began to understand exactly what that meant.